No, the museum is real.
We need.
Good evening.
What the hell was that?
James and I don't know.
This is how the podcast is gonna sound today.
Today we're gonna. Have you had your inner health?
Have you had your inner health today?
All right. Good evening to you, James.
Is that the intro?
I guess, yeah.
I guess.
Oh, okay. Yeah. All right. Good evening, Brandon.
Good evening to you, Ben.
Good evening.
And good evening to our listeners. I'm Bran Reid, and this is the Graveyard Broadcast. Today's topic is gonna be I put a spell on you. Because
Curses and spells, you uncultured swines.
Ben's
That's what you said last week.
given
though.
James and I the task of talking about curses today. So we both have curses.
Yeah.
I guess mine is... my topic today is going to be about America's Cursed Week, the third week of April, where tragedies always just seem to fall. And James?
I'm doing a curse about a mummy that was discovered and people randomly die.
Ooh.
Ooh.
So,
Ooh.
you boys done anything spooky today? This week, just quickly.
I got out of bed.
I didn't get out of bed, so...
Cool. I've started a book called My Best Friend's Exorcism, and it's awesome, so that's my horror of the week. Cool. We'll jump straight into it then. We need a heads or tails. What are you going with, James?
Tails, man.
Heads or tails?
Tails.
That's you, James. James is kicking us off today.
Oh, shit. Okay. Crap. Okay, so my story is about the mummy named Otzi. It's
Named
got a
what?
weird, O. It's like a...
Etsy.
Otzi or Otzi, I don't know.
Otzi.
Is it Etsy?
Isn't
It's got an O with, the two dots at the top.
Etsy is where I buy,
I don't
cute
know what
little
the-
prints that middle-aged women make, right?
Yeah, it is.
I don't know. It's the O with, two dots at the top. It looks like an open mouth. And, TZI. So it's Otzi, right?
Sure, let's go with that.
I probably should have looked into that. Yeah, I don't know.
think
Ben
it's-
said Ronald when it was Roland.
Etsy sounds right.
So-
Okay.
Halfway between
Before
an
we
O
get
and
into
an
your
E.
story, James,
Etsy.
I wanna talk about how annoyed I am that I continuously keep fucking up my topics.
Oh, yeah.
Because
update from last week's episode.
We did episode 1, and literally the day after we finished recording, freaking new information came out about the Thunder Rapid rides at Dream Worlds. And then we did all of episode 3, where I talked about freaking Ronald Doe, and his name was actually Roland, because I'm a dyslexic fuckhead.
And I said Robert. Listening back, I was like, I keep calling him Robert, and no one's correcting me.
So, apologies if you had to listen to all of last episode going, isn't his name Roland? Yeah, his name was Roland. But
It's just funny how you research for days and you read it multiple times. And you still
well, the thing
fuck
is
up.
that in my notes I had typed it as Ronald. So it's the fact that I fucked up when I was researching it, that when I was reading it, it was actually Ronald, but I was reading my notes. I wasn't reading Wikipedia.
Sorry, I probably got Otzi wrong, so...
Because when I went to upload the episode, I'm like, oh, I'll just double check what his name was. And it was Roland, and I was like, ah. No one said Roland. We said about every other name that starts with RO, but no one said Roland.
It gave us
okay.
the Ronald McDonald jokes, man.
It was an alias
Yeah.
anyway, so it doesn't matter. All right, James, tell us about Ötzi. Ötzi.
Is it Utsi?
I'm saying Ötzi.
Are we going with Utsi now?
Between O and E, kind of like Ötzi.
I'm just going to say Otzi because that's what I've been saying.
Oh, okay.
All right, Brandon. Okay.
All right.
Yeah, it's my story.
So you have to make a heartfelt apology next week, like Ben.
I'm like, fuck you, it is what it is, man. Yeah. The story of Otzi the Iceman is more than a little creepy. On September 19, 1991, German tourist Helmut, with a U, not an E, and Erika Simon took a hike off the beaten path in the Alps on the Austrian-Italian border. There, they made a gruesome discovery, the body of a man frozen in the ice, who they assumed had recently died. The truth was more than bizarre. The body that came to be known as Otzi likely met his demise between 3,239 and 3,105 BCE. So he's an old motherfucker.
I thought this was going to be Egyptian. I'm kind of sad.
Yeah, honestly, I was thinking the same thing.
Nah, it's still fun.
When I was looking, I don't know, when I was looking for stories and shit, I was just like, it was a pain in the ass. And I found this one about the cursed mummy, and I'm like, that sounds something that would interest me. And I was expecting Egyptian. No. Austrian. The mummified remains were stunningly well preserved, and the Otzi Iceman discovery led to a legal fight between Austria and Italy. The valuable find promised to shed light on humans' distant past, and everyone wanted the chance to spend more time with Otzi. That was their first mistake. Oh, shit.
Are we going to find out
But
this is
that
how
was
COVID
before.
began? It's just a curse of a mummy.
Shit. No, you cut it. You spoiled it. It's exactly where that was going.
Do you want me to actually cut that, or do you?
No, I'm joking. Or am I?
I can't tell anymore.
I'm a good liar, Brandon.
Ooh, don't let your girlfriend hear this episode.
All right, now cut that.
Oh, you best believe that part's not getting cut.
Ooh, that part is totally staying in.
It's all right. Shit. She doesn't listen to it anyways.
Great.
Oh, but she was our first
That's what I want to
review.
hear.
That wasn't her. What are you talking about? But that was before mysterious accidents and deaths began befalling those who came into contact with the Otzi, the Iceman. Despite everything that the Iceman offers to the fields of science and anthropology, people have fallen
Say
victim to the
Afropology?
Otzi Iceman curse. Yes, by accident. Anthropology.
Afropology.
Anthropology.
Do when they get afros?
Is
Me.
that disco?
Afro. Brandon, you got a bit of an afro going, don't you?
I know. I can't help it.
You need a haircut,
I do
boy.
need a haircut.
I lost where I was, though. Oh, there I am. Yeah, so people who have fallen victim to the Otzi Iceman curse probably wished he was still frozen on that mountain. Well, no shit, but they're dead, so. The debate over whether or not the Otzi curse is real continues, though, so no one's actually sure if it's just coincidence. Pretty much every curse is like that, though.
Wait, people
On
aren't
the one
sure
hand,
if
there are a
something
lot of
supernatural is real or not?
Yeah, I don't
Not
know.
concrete.
Shocker.
On the one hand, there are a lot of odd circumstances surrounding the mummified remains that seem to support the theory of a real-life curse. I personally think it is. I don't know. However, it's also definitely possible that all the strange incidents are nothing more than coincidences. Pretty much what I just said. One of the many debates that Otzi's remains have sparked is how he perished. Researchers at the South Tyrol Museum of Archaeology in Italy found evidence that Otzi was murdered. If the museum staff is correct, he would have bled out in a matter of minutes after being hit with an arrow in his subclavian artery. I don't know where that is. I'm just going to assume it's the knee because it's funny.
Great research, James.
I'm just doing the arrow to the knee joke, Ben.
From
Went right over
2011.
I got the joke.
Hey,
Almost
why do I
10
need to
years
search what a
old.
subclavian artery is? All right, do you guys know what it is?
No, but it's not my
The
topic.
subclavian artery is the artery that passes with the roots of fucking a lot of shit. This is a massive freaking description.
I love that Ben just has all this already in his mind and is ready just to give us these facts without looking them up.
Yeah. I'm
Come on,
totally
Ben, provide
not
'em.
looking at Google. Fucking the space over your rib is where that is. So it went through his rib cage.
But the rib's pretty big. Okay. So a lot of shit. Yeah, you're right.
It's a lot of shit. Like, there was a lot of words that I am too dumb to understand.
We're all pretty dumb though, so it's all
Speak for
good.
yourselves.
You're a fool.
You're a damn fool.
You're a fool, Bran.
Every Disney villain's like go-to insult ever. You fool.
Remember when dweeb was a thing?
When dweeb.
What?
Yeah, when Ben 10 was a thing. Like everyone was calling each other a dweeb. It was more like my little cousins and shit. I was getting so angry. Like, you dweeb? I'm like,
Oh, I was never a part of that, so I don't know.
cut that out. All right. Got like we got like 13 minutes into this. We're going to cut like half of it. So modern research techniques have also made it clear that Otzi had hair trauma when he passed. Sounded like I said hair. I said head.
It did sound like you said hair.
Yeah, I know. I had to clear it up.
Well, you can't guarantee that he also had a good haircut. So he might have had hair trauma.
I feel like in ancient Egypt. Wait, this isn't Egypt. Forget it.
Austrian/Italian border, Brandon. I wish it was an Egyptian story.
Wait, so are we
was
continuing the
one.
theme of Italian horror stories?
Shit, yeah, we are. Damn.
And it was the sun
Brandon's
all
is
along.
American, though.
But yours isn't, James.
So there's kind of like theories about the curse being like revenge of Otzi. Who knows?
Why does
to
that
be
sound
honest.
familiar?
He's like,
Like Otzi's Revenge.
I don't know.
Maybe I have.
Because
heard
it's
it.
like the premise of every single mummy movie ever.
No, just the name.
I
The
was
name
thinking
sounds
about
familiar.
the third Mummy movie.
Tomb of the Dragon Emperor with Jet Li.
For some, such a bad movie. So keen for it though.
I think I saw it in like Queensland or something. I remember being on a holiday when I saw it.
It's so bad.
I still enjoyed it more than
The
the
Mummy
Tom
Returns
Cruise
was the
one.
first movie. Oh, the Tom Cruise one I didn't even watch. I heard just bad things.
Yeah, never bothered.
Wasn't that like the start of like a cinematic universe they were
Yeah.
making?
Yeah, it was meant to be the start of like the Universal Monsters cinematic universe. And that was going to have like the Invisible Man, Frankenstein, Dracula. And now I think it's really unclear if they're still doing that. Like apparently they are, but apparently they're not. I don't know.
They're doing it one at a time now and seeing if they can build a universe rather than jumping all in like they were gonna do.
It's all very unsure. The Invisible Man was really good though. That was really good.
Yeah.
I loved it. It was awesome.
More like that, please, Universal.
Oh, am I continuing? I thought there was more to that convo. Sorry. Otzi was discovered on September 19th, 1991, but weather conditions prevented the excavation team from completing their task until September 23. It's only about 4 days anyways. The Iceman had spent thousands of years frozen, so 4 extra days weren't gonna exactly major. However, his remains were no longer at rest. He was poked, prodded, and photographed before he was finally pried from the ice. But we're going to get to the actual deaths now of the people who have died from this supposed curse. So the first to go was Kurt Fritz. By leading researchers to Otzi's body, he also acknowledged the transportation of the ancient man's remains. An avalanche ended up claiming his life in 1993 when he was 52. Fritz was the only member of this expedition group who died during the avalanche. This could be nothing more than a mere coincidence, but it definitely seems odd, especially considering the fact he was an experienced guide. So he was one of the ones that actually first discovered him. Now you've got Helmut, the guy with the U instead of the E. It's a weird name. Helmut Simon died in the Alps. So Helmut Simon and his wife Erica discovered Otzi. They received a lot of media attention and eventually some compensation for their rare find. Unfortunately, Simon may have also received the Otzi Iceman curse. In October 2004, the experienced hiker disappeared in the Alps due to snowy conditions. It took researchers 8 days to discover his body. Simon had fallen.
Sorry, you froze how many days?
His death. 8 days.
8 days.
8 days. It's weird how both the deaths happened in the ice, but I guess no, because that's where he was found, and that's, I guess, what they do.
Yeah, they're in ice.
But
It'd be weird if like they all died in a volcano or something, like separate volcanoes.
Oh yeah.
I don't know, like when I hear curses and shit, I just picture like Final Destination.
Ooh.
When's 6
Even
coming
though
out?
that's not real.
I want more.
Ben
I think
Google.
last time I checked, they were making like a series, and then they were gonna make a 6th one.
Oh, that would be so cool.
Rest in peace, the Scream TV series. Am I right?
Oh my god.
They're making a new one.
What,
But
Scream?
what happened?
Yeah, Scream is making a new movie. They've got David Arquette and
Yeah, we
Courtney
don't care
Cox
about the
coming
movies.
back.
We're talking about the series. Season 1 and Season 2.
Yeah.
So good. Had a cliffhanger.
And
And
the-
Season 3 was just a reboot.
They're never
that
gonna
no one
finish
saw
that.
because it's not on anything.
No.
It's so annoying. It's on YouTube apparently.
I couldn't find it. It's not on there anymore.
Rough.
Oh, well, there goes watching that. I don't really care anyway. It's a reboot. Like, why would you do that after a big cliffhanger?
Yeah, there's so many unanswered questions built over the 2 seasons, and then they're just like, we're scrapping it, starting again. Anyway,
Like, they... Sorry, I'm just going to bitch for a second. They made a movie, like a extra Halloween special episode. They could have at least, like, tied it up in that.
well, at that
But it
point
was-
they thought it wasn't going to be the end. They think it was just kind of a Halloween special before they come back for next season.
It was so unrelated.
But it was good.
It
I
didn't
really
even have,
liked
like,
it.
the spooky ghost face. No. I didn't like it.
At one time, you and I were trying
So
to remember
annoying.
the name of the killer, and we were sitting there for a good half an hour trying to remember, and his name is Brandon James. It's literally the combination of our 2 names.
I fucking remember that.
Like, we were just driving, and it clicked. I'm like, James, you're not going to believe this. His name is Brandon James. Dumbest moment of
Completely
our
forgot
lives.
about that. So good. So, death number 3. His name is Dieter or Dieter. I don't know. It's spelt like diet with an ER at the end. How would you say that?
What? You cut out again.
Dieter. Oh, for fuck's sake. Dieter. Dieter?
Whatever, man.
Dieter?
I don't know.
Dieter? I don't know. Okay, I'm just going to call him Dieter Warneck because that's his last name as well. It's a weird name. So Dieter Warneck wasn't part of the original Otzi excavation or research crew, but his potential connection to the curse is still worth noting. When Helmut Simon disappeared in the Alps in 2004, Warneck led a search team. They ultimately rediscovered Simon's body 8 days later after he went missing. Mere hours after Simon's funeral, the 45-year-old Warneck had a heart attack and died. Ooh.
Oh.
It's his curse. Sundays at noon.
Is it a curse or is it just an elaborate hoax?
You decide.
Can't spit.
This Sunday.
It comes on Saturday, doesn't it?
What's that?
Comes out on Saturday, doesn't it?
Yeah, our episodes come out on Saturdays. But our fictional Ötzi's Curse show comes out on Sundays. You can catch that. Never. It's not coming out. Continue, James.
Do you want to go to Otzi's remains and, like, you know, get the curse?
Oh, yeah,
through
let's go
YouTube?
poke it with a stick.
We'll just go to the museum where he's held.
Yeah.
Yeah. That'd be a fun video.
You guys want us to get
Just record it.
Ötzi's Curse? Let us know.
Yeah. I'm
Send us
down.
an email
We'll just
at thegraveyardbroadcast@gmail.com or on our YouTube channel comments.
All three of us are going to go. Ben's the only one who's going to die, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he won't even.
That's his luck.
He won't even go inside. He'll be waiting outside. We'll be
Yeah.
poking the reins. We're like, well, nothing's happening, and then this truck's just gonna come, just take out Ben. And we're just gonna be like, oh man, it doesn't work. There's no curse.
Yeah, it's going to be that scene in Final Destination
Comments
where I'm
on
going to
Ben
walk away
spotted on the
going like,
floor.
you know what? Fuck you guys. I'm out of this. And then bus.
All that was left was Ben's Ranger hair.
Wow.
Just didn't see that coming. It's not even funny. It was just unexpected.
All right, death number 4 was Conrad Spindler, the world's leading expert on Otzi. Conrad Spindler didn't believe in the curse. He even joked about it during an interview. Guys, don't joke about it.
Oh shit. Don't joke about curses. We're fucked.
So what he was saying was, I think it's a load of rubbish. It's all a
It's a
media
load
hype.
of rubbish.
It's a load of rubbish. It's all media hype. The next thing you'll be saying, I will be
Fake
next.
news.
Oh, he fucked himself. He really fucked himself there.
Fake news.
So, yeah, in the interview, the last words were, the next thing you'll be saying is, I will be next. He was next.
He was next. Next Sunday.
Famous last words.
He passed in 2005 due to complications from multiple sclerosis.
Due to multiple errors.
Sclerosis.
Errors.
I used to joke about the curse like you, but then I took 5 arrows to the knee.
Due to complications of supernatural mummy curse.
Sorry, I just keep picturing Ben's like Ranger wig hair on the ground.
Wig hair.
Floating to the ground. Yeah, it's a wig, is it not?
Oh, you found me
Like
out.
the way I've got it pictured in my head is like just like the top of your scalp and your hair is left.
Love the
And
imagery.
Ben's glasses like next to it. So the next person is Raina Holes.
Sure. That sounds like a porn name.
Holes is spelled H-O with like the 2 dots. L-Z. Holes. They've got accents to them. They probably sound way better than I'm
It's
pronouncing
like
them.
how all these people like just they're like, what curse? And just, like, they're setting themselves up to lose.
Especially the last cunt. Oh, I'm gonna be next. Oh. Yeah.
And Raina's last words were, oh, yeah, what's going to happen? Am I going to insert what happens to her?
So Raina Holes was the only person allowed to film the recovery of Otzi's body. And he later turned his footage into an hour-long
Oh,
documentary.
it's a dude.
Yeah, I was about to say, it's a dude, Brandon. Sorry.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, if you had a little man crush.
I don't always assume everyone's a man, James. I'm progressive.
But showing Otzi's face to the world may have been a grave mistake for Raina. Holes died from a brain tumor shortly after finishing the film. So Ben, you could die while filming us at Otzi's remains.
That sounds like the best outcome.
It's just if we did a video, it'd just be us standing in front of him saying, "What are you gonna do? Kill Ben?" Just over and over and taunting him.
What are you gonna do? Stab him through the ribs? Hit him with a truck? Drop a piano on his head?
What are you gonna do? Give Ben hair loss?
As if a mummy like you wouldn't ever bury Ben in ice. Fucking weak piece of shit.
Otzi, I beg you, please don't kill Ben.
We just have like a bunch of photos of Ben and we just leave them in front of the tomb as we leave. Wait, it wouldn't be a tomb, would it? Would it be a tomb?
I'm not sure. It's like in a museum at the moment. So
exhibit.
Probably. Exhibit. Yeah, I don't go to museums.
Museums are fun. You should go to museums.
Yeah, go to one right now.
Go to one right now. They're all open.
Yeah.
They're not open.
They're straight up not open. But I dare you to go outside. Without a mask.
Does anyone know of any abandoned museums? Because that would be so cool.
That'd be cool, but I wouldn't imagine there'd be
I assume they'd be
many
empty.
around. Yeah, the exhibits are really valuable.
Yeah.
True. I mean, there could be some fake ones too, though. No, the museum is real. Ben Stiller.
I'm taking that cut of you saying Night at the Museum is real, and that's going to be at the very start of the episode. It's going to be like, Night at the Museum is real, and then the intro music's going to start. So for the listeners, I'm explaining why that happened. Just because it just came to me now.
What am I doing to myself this episode? Brandon just cut my whole segment. So
yeah, it's just me and Brandon responding to dead air. James is just out of this podcast.
You're next, all right?
What's it? What? I'm next?
It's the mummy's curse. It's the mummy's curse.
So the last person was named Tom Loy, the most basic name on this list. Tom Loy was the first researcher to discover extremely important evidence on Otzi's clothing. I can't speak. His findings indicated that the Iceman had died during a violent conflict due to the presence of multiple types of blood on the fabric and tools. Ironically, Loy ultimately died due to the hereditary blood disease, one that wasn't diagnosed until after Loy began studying Otzi's remains. So, could he have had it before or after? Loy's colleagues
next Sunday.
Or during.
Ooh. Loy's colleagues resented the talk of a curse, saying it trivializes his death and does not do justice to his life and work. So, I don't know. You don't believe in the curse? Look at, what was his name? Conrad Spindler.
I'm sure that's how you pronounce
Fucked himself up.
Yeah.
So, as of 2017, so 3 years ago, if you guys didn't know what year we're in, 7 deaths has been linked to the discovery of Otzi. It seems like a high number until you consider the hundreds of people who have been involved with Otzi's research projects over the years. So what do you guys think? Curse or just coincidence?
It sounds pretty cursy, not gonna lie.
Yeah.
I mean, the one that kind of got me was like Conrad Spindler just saying, oh yeah, next thing you're going to say is I'm next, and then just dies.
And like,
I mean, that's how I'd want to go.
you know that ancient Austrians are known for their curses.
Yeah.
The mummy was just like, you fucking what, mate?
Are you challenging me?
You said fucking what?
Talk shit, get hit.
So directly at the end of this story, there was like a comment at the end of it. It was like, this curse is nothing compared to this curse that happened to this mummy. And I'm like, I'm not reading another story.
Was it Tutankhamun?
I think so.
King Tut or King Toot?
King Toot.
I remember because we had this song we used to sing in music in primary school, and it was about it, mummies, and like one of the lines was King Tut, and the teacher would be like, actually, it'd be King Toot. Like, that sounds dumb. Toot, toot, King Toot, toot. Have you heard your inner health plus today?
Brandon, your nips are poking through your white shirt.
Yeah, I know.
Like, quite prominently.
So cold.
Oh, wow. I didn't even notice.
I just looked over at Brandon and his, like, tits were out.
Yeah. It's a very thin shirt and the heat is off. All right. Was that your story then, James?
That was it. There was a bit more, but, like, I'm like,
All right.
It's a good note to end off of.
I'm going to have to power through this one because it's a long one. So I'm going to have to try and speak fast. It's a very...
So no
dive in.
banter.
Yeah. Oh, we can have a bit of banter. I spent about...
Oh, yeah. Zero banter. This is not a comedy podcast.
This is an informative podcast. It's called Edutainment. So this one I think I spent about 8 hours researching. So this is going to be a... Whew. All right. Boys, today I'm talking about either a week that has been cursed or a series of coincidences, but something interesting either way. America's Cursed Week. Cursed Week. The third week of April. The third week of April might be cursed, as throughout America's cursed... That's the wrong line. But as throughout American history, it is full of tragedies and mishaps. So I'm going to run through a list of events that have fallen on the curse week. Some of these will probably be further elaborated on in future episodes. So here's a bunch of material, boys, for you to remember for future episodes, because I can't get into detail with these. There's too many. So yeah.
Ooh, boy. I won't remember any of it.
It kills me we can't go into extreme detail, because every single one of them I'm like, I want to talk about this and this and this and this. I can't do that because I've got to move on. So,
we should have made this like a Brandon-centric podcast, this episode.
Yeah, okay.
Just let you do it.
Me do all the work. Then we wouldn't know about Ötzi. I wouldn't have found
another
Ötzi.
time, though.
All right, we can expand on a lot of these in future segments. So it's up to you to decide if this week has some bad juju, or is just a bunch of coincidences. So let's start all the way back. Again, all these take place on the third week of April. April 18th, 1775. British troops arrive in Massachusetts to arrest Samuel Adams and John Hancock, who were some American fellows, founding fathers, I guess. I'm not too familiar with American history, except for what I see on like movies and TV shows and stuff. But this in turn has Paul Revere embarking on his famous ride to warn them the British are coming. This begins the American Revolutionary War, which went for 8 years. United States and Allies versus the British Empire and German mercenaries. Over 37,000 people would die in this war. That's where we're beginning, 1775. Now let's move forward to April 14th, 1846. A group of American pioneers begin their journey from Missouri, migrating to California. They are called the Donner Party, or the Donner-Reid Party, as they consisted of the Reid families and the Donner families. The party elected to follow a new route called the Hastings Cutoff, which bypassed already established trails for some reason. So they're like, let's not take the trails everyone knows. Let's find our own way to California.
The Donner Party is such a fucking great story that we absolutely will get into at a later point in the podcast.
Yeah. This will be great to expand
Did you
on.
say the Reid Party?
He did.
Maybe.
As in Brandon Reid?
Maybe. The spelling is slightly different, but maybe.
No, he was actually there. He
They're-
took place. It's part of his curse. He was there.
So their adventure embarked on the third week of April.
It's a cover up.
Not
Straight up
mine.
ignore Ben's joke.
It's a cover up.
What do you mean?
If I die, it was not a
They face-
suicide.
They
Just
faced
ignore that one too. Let's go.
many difficulties, which killed cattle and destroyed their wagons, the group became divided and resentful of each other. The series of mishaps would delay the party, and they would become lost in the Sierra Nevada mountain range. They were meant to get to California by autumn, but with the delay, winter settled in, and they get fucked over in some winter storms. Supplies run low. They're trapped up in the high western mountains, trapped by heavy snowfall, and without food. Some members of the family resort to cannibalism of the already dead or sick to stay alive.
Oh no.
Rescuers from California wouldn't reach them until late winter. Only 48 of 87 would survive. Historians have described this as one of the most spectacular tragedies in California history and in the entire record of American westward immigration.
Wait, did I hear that right? You said only... okay, no, never mind.
Migration.
I thought I heard over 48... No, only 48 or 47 people survived.
No, 48 of 87.
Okay. I was like, what?
They gained one extra
Had
person.
to eat everybody else.
The biggest tragedy.
Also, Ben, what are you drinking?
What?
It looks like pee.
I'm drinking pineapple juice.
You got it from Bear Grylls, all right? It's a survival method. Let him survive. So let's jump forward 19 years later, April 14th, 1865. In the Ford's Theater in Washington, D.C., the play Our American Cousin is being performed, and the President of the United States is in attendance. Abraham Lincoln sat in his box, overlooking the theater with his wife Mary and Major Henry Rathbone, along with Rathbone's fiancée, Clara Harris. Abraham was holding Mary's hand, and she whispered to him, "What will Miss Harris think of my hanging on to you, sir?" They're British in my version because it's fun. Abraham replied, "She won't think anything about it." Many believe these to be his last words. However,
Ben
a
found
family
that
friend...
hilarious.
What?
What?
I don't know. The call cut out, so it had Ben laughing, and I was like, Ben found that hilarious, but you were still going, but not on my screen.
Okay. Many believe
Just
these...
ignore me.
I am trying to. Many believe these to be his last words. However, a family friend said that Mary told that his last words was something along the lines of, "I want to go to Jerusalem," before bang, he was shot in the head by actor and Confederate conspirator John Wilkes Booth. This was the first assassination of an American president. Now, the 20th century comes around, April 18, 1906. At 5:12 a.m., a 7.9 magnitude earthquake hit San Francisco, California. High-intensity shaking was felt from Eureka on the north coast to Salinas Valley, an agricultural region to the south of the San Francisco Bay Area. Devastating fires broke out in the city that lasted for days. The death toll was over 3,000, and over 80% of the city of San Francisco was destroyed. It's the highest death toll from a natural disaster in California, and one of the highest in the list of American disasters. 6 years later, April 15, 1912, a British passenger liner operated by the White Star Line was crossing the North Atlantic Ocean. It was coming from Southampton, England to New York City, carrying an estimated 2,224 passengers. It was the largest ship afloat in the ocean. 11:40 p.m. the night before, the lookout, Frederick Fleet, noticed they were heading straight for an iceberg. Attempts were made to steer it out of harm's way, but unfortunately, the RMS Titanic struck the ice, denting the hull. The hull buckled and separated.
I've seen that movie.
And over the next 2.5 hours, the ship filled with water and tragically sank. Over 1,500 people were killed. Now you can have some witty comments.
It's too late.
Yeah, now that you know 1,500 people died and it's not funny, James.
Yeah, that bitch Rose could have let Leonardo onto the door, though. There was enough room for two
That
people.
was a mistake by the prop department, not by the story. They designed it too
no
big.
excuses, man.
The point was he was meant to die. The prop part department
Yeah.
made the plank too big. So let's move forward 2 years. April 20th, 1914. Okay, this is one of my longer ones because I got pretty in depth. Because I was just like, what?
We got time.
April 20th, 1914. Before I can explain the events of this day, we need a bit of a setup. In the early 1900s, thousands of workers lived in coal camps across the southwestern United States. They were paid $3 to $4 a day to work 10 to 12-hour days. That's about $75 to $100 in today's money, which translates to about 105 to 140 Australian. But still, to work 10 to 12-hour days and only get paid 105 to 140 bucks. And this is even worse considering mines frequently exploded or caved in. And in the last 30 years, about 1,700 miners had died on the job. The miners were forced to live in closed camps that were run by the coal companies. Workers and their families lived in shacks, sometimes with up to 20 people sharing a 4-room home. They had a curfew, could only shop at company stores, didn't get paid for any other jobs they did around camp, and guards prevented them from entering or leaving. So it was just shit. It was a shit life. Unions became more active in the early 1900s, and strikes became common. In 1902, Colorado citizens voted for miners to work 8-hour days, but the governments and employers didn't enforce this. In 1 year, several workers were killed in a mine explosion, then 15 died in an accident involving a transport cage, followed by an explosion killing another 13 in the same mine as the transport cage incident. Miners were very much over the unfair treatment, and strikes continued. Coal companies didn't give a fuck about the workers' and unions' demands. Almost 12,000 miners were on strike leading up to the third week of April. That was almost 90% of the entire workforce. The striking miners were evicted and moved to tent cities. The largest tent colony was called Ludlow, with approximately 200 tents. Coal companies sent militia to the tents. So the employers sent militia to the employees to fight the union and force the miners to return back to working. Militia used an armored car they called the Death Special to fire on the tents. People dug pits to hide, and pregnant women hid in the underground bunkers. On April 20th, the militia opened fire, and hundreds of workers and their families ran for cover. The attack lasted the whole day. At around dusk, a passing freight train blocked the militia, and the workers had a chance to escape into the nearby hills. The tents ablaze, the militia looted them. I saw an example of some deaths. Like, some people were just straight up shot and their bodies just left in the desert for days.
Damn.
But there was I think it was like one woman and 11 children hiding in a tent that caught fire. They suffocated and died.
Oh,
Fuck.
shit.
Yeah, so people died from the fires, people were shot. The militia killed 20 people in the Ludlow massacre, including 12 children. Like, fuck those guys. Absolute pieces of shit. Go fuck yourselves and die. All because they didn't want to give them rights. Like, give them like a good salary for what they're doing. Didn't give a shit like how dangerous their job was. And to this day, it's like, it's so relevant in terms of employees versus employers and, you know, unions and rights and stuff.
Yeah.
And like
100%.
the fact that they sent a whole militia after their employees because they were striking because people keep dying and we're getting paid jack shit. Our living situation is horrible, you know? Like, that one really pissed me off, like, reading through that. So that's why I kind of got a bit in depth in it. Also, I don't imagine we'll probably expand on it too much because there's a lot of information there already. But there is a lot of cool information online if you want to look further. Like, yeah. So, moving along. April 15, 1927. The Great Mississippi Flood occurred due to several months of heavy rainfall and was the most destructive river flood in the history of the United States. Hundreds of thousands of people were affected by the floods throughout Missouri, Illinois, Kansas, Tennessee, Kentucky, Louisiana, Mississippi, Oklahoma, Texas, and the most heavily affected, Arkansas. when levees along the river were broken in at least 145 places. Arkansas was home to about 94% of the affected population, and 14% of the territory, 14% of the state, was covered in the water, like the flooded water. Throughout all the affected states, over 70,000 kilometers square of land was flooded, some places up to 9 meters high. Approximately 500 people were killed, and over 700,000 people were left homeless. Monetary damages reached approximately $1 billion, 1/3 of the federal budget in 1927, which was also the time of the Great Depression. In today's money, can you guess how much $1 billion is worth? That was 1927.
Ooh. Like, say like 7 billion?
Ben?
Like how are we doing it? So like $1 billion then, how much is it today?
Yeah.
5.4 billion?
14 billion. 518,305,084.75.
Damn.
That's a lot.
That's the damages of this flood. Just one event in the whole year.
Holy shit.
And in Australia, that's $20 billion. To put that in perspective, it's over $20 billion.
Jesus.
Holy crap.
I'm not going to pretend I know that much about economics, but how much it would have costed translated if the flood occurred today with today's prices and values for obviously fixing everything and what would be damaged, it would have cost almost $1 trillion.
God damn.
Damn.
Yeah. So on April 14th, 1935, this week has had a lot of unfortunate incidents. We continue. So on the afternoon of April 14th, residents all across the Midwest, which by the way confuses me because I looked at a map on the Midwest and it appears to be the mid-north, leaning slightly towards the east of the US. Like, if it's not west at all. I don't understand. Whatever. I'm semi-sure I've got the geography a bit muddled up on this one, to be honest, but like, here it goes, because where this happened wasn't just the Midwest, but the thing that popped up said it was in the Midwest, but it's kind of started there and moved away from there. So, anyway, on this afternoon, a dust storm blew through the region. The storm hit the Oklahoma Panhandle at northwestern Oklahoma first and moved south for the remainder of the day. Yeah, it struck Beaver, Oklahoma around 4 p.m., Boise City around 5:15, and Amarillo, Texas at 7:20. The conditions were most severe in the Oklahoma and Texas panhandles, but the storm's effects were also felt in the surrounding areas. The storm flew freely and at high speeds due to drought, erosion, bare soil, and winds. The storm was dubbed Black Sunday, not to be confused with Black Sunday, the Victorian bushfires in 1925 to 1926. Black Sunday, the 1938 event of extraordinary surf conditions at Bondi Beach, Sydney. Black Sunday, the 1955 bushfires in South Australia. Black Sunday, the 1967 Iowa-Minnesota tornado outbreak. I can go on because there are multiple terrorist attacks, natural disasters, and just like events, transit failures, sporting victories and losses, and all other things, including the opening day of Disneyland, which have all been dubbed Black Sunday. So it's a popular name, clearly.
Wow.
But this particular Black Sunday killed multiple people and caused a lot of people to relocate to California, much like the Great Mississippi Flood. April 16, 1947. A cargo ship full of improperly stored ammonium nitrate fertilizer caught fire and detonated the 2,300 tons of explosive cargo off the coast of Texas, causing a chain reaction that set other ships' freight and oil storage facilities on fire and caused many of them to explode. And obviously the chain reaction continued to more. The explosion killed over 580 people, including all but one member of the Texas City Fire Department. All but one member.
Oh my.
This is...
Jesus
Wow.
Yeah.
How crazy would it be to be that guy?
Yeah,
Oh,
imagine
girl, I'm not guessing.
It's 1947. I'm assuming it would have been all men at that point.
Yeah.
This is the largest industrial disaster in US history and is one of the largest non-nuclear explosions in history. Of course, unfortunately, last week, there was a similar disaster in Beirut, the capital of Lebanon, also involving similar chemicals stored in warehouses, and that is now the largest non-nuclear explosion in history. At the time I wrote this, at least 158 people have been confirmed dead, more than 6,000 missing. Oh no, sorry, injured, and others still missing. It's a terrible tragedy, and I can't imagine what the citizens and families and friends of people involved are going through. But yeah,
It was so hard to watch that footage. It's crazy.
yeah, and that was the first time, like, this explosion last week was the first time I've even heard of like ammonium nitrate fertilizer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And a lot of my stories today involve it, like a lot of them. So
Damn.
I
That's
think that was the
crazy.
first time. Yeah, the footage is horrible. Like it's so sad.
Yeah, if you can, please donate.
Yeah.
What was it?
It's like Red
Cross Lebanon?
Cross. Yeah, I think so. I think yeah.
Yeah.
We'll put a donation link in the episode description. Moving on to April 17th, 1961. The Bay of Pigs invasion began during the Cold War. 1,500 Cuban soldiers trained by the CIA to invade Cuba in an attempt to overthrow Fidel Castro, under the assumption that the U.S. military would provide air support. When the invasion became global news, President John F. Kennedy decided not to provide the airstrikes after all. The operation failed spectacularly, and the invading force was defeated in 3 days, and this resulted in major shifts in international relations between Cuba, the US, and the Soviet Union. This would also domino effect into the Cuban Missile Crisis in 1962.
Damn.
April 18th, 1983. Unfortunately, another event that ties into the Beirut tragedy last week. On April 18th, 1983, in the wake of an intervention in the Lebanese civil war by the US, a suicide bomber detonated his van packed with around 900 kilograms of explosives at around 1 p.m. in front of the US Embassy in Beirut, killing 63 people, including 32 Lebanese, 17 Americans, and 14 visitors/passers-by. And some consider this to be the first attack by an Islamic extremist on US targets.
Damn.
April 16th to the 19th, 1985. The Elijah, Missouri siege. This is just a smaller one. Basically, around 300 FBI members surrounded the headquarters of a bunch of pieces of shit, white supremacist, Christian extremist, terrorist, just pure human garbage. The standoff would result peacefully, but it would be an inspiration to an event 10 years later in 1995 that also occurred on America's Curse Week, which is also on my list, so I thought I'd state a cause before the effect. We'll get into that shortly. April 19, 1989. A 16-inch gun turret on a US Navy battleship exploded. It killed 47 of the turret's crewmen. 2 investigations were undertaken, one by the U.S. Navy and one by the Government Accountability Office and Sandria National Laboratories. The U.S. Navy implied one of the crew members had a gay relationship with another sailor, and when the relationship soured, he deliberately caused the explosion.
The fuck?
However, their evidence didn't conclude that Hartwig was gay, but instead he was just suicidal and caused the explosion. They just kind of implied the relationship thing. The families didn't agree with this conclusion, so a second investigation was underway. The GAO and Sandria National Labs concluded it was actually more likely to have been an accident caused by an accidental overram of powder bags, and that there was absolutely no evidence to support the Navy's initial investigation. The Navy gave a bitter disagreement and said the cause of the explosion can't actually be determined, and closed the investigation without apologizing to Hartwig's family over the accusations.
Shit.
Damn.
April 18th, 1992. Another siege with the FBI surrounding a group of isolated Christian doomsday preppers with a warrant to arrest Randy Weaver, who had failed to appear in court over firearms charges. The siege would actually occur and turn deadly in August, but the incidents that caused the siege were on the cursed week. Essentially, reports that the resistors fired shots at a helicopter flying over them, which Weaver absolutely denied. Anyone had fired guns at any helicopter. No shots have been fired. Don't know what you're talking about. The siege would result in shootouts and the deaths of a deputy U.S. Marshal, as well as Weaver's wife, 14-year-old son, and a dog, and prosecution of Weaver and his friend Kevin Harris. Weaver was charged with murder, conspiracy, assault, and other crimes, but were acquitted of all charges except for the original failing to appear before the court for firearms. Weaver and his remaining 4 daughters got a $3,100,000 payout for the gross misconduct and poor handling of the situation by the FBI. This is definitely a complicated one that could have its own segment with a deep dive because it's really complex. But the siege would also be an inspiration, like the earlier Elijah, Missouri siege, for the event that took place in 1995, which I still will get to shortly. April 19, 1993. David Koresh was your typical gross predatory cult leader. The classic, I am your prophet, the end times are nigh, let me sleep with your wives, all that cringe shit, right? They had a ranch, much like Charles Manson or Kanye West. Spouted a lot of religious nonsense, much like Jim Jones or Kanye West. Had a fairly large following who followed every word, like L. Ron Hubbard or Kanye West.
Kanye 2020.
It was suspected that David Koresh's cult, the Branch Davidians, were stockpiling weapons. The ATF attempted to serve a search and arrest warrant on the ranch, and an intense gunfight erupted, killing 4 government agents and 6 cult members. Thus, the Waco siege began in February. More like the Waco siege. Am I right, boys?
Do you guys reckon Kanye's going to be president?
No. There's like absolutely no way.
I hope that does not happen.
He's already got like no supporters.
We said that about Trump, though. I mean,
No,
Trump obviously has the
He's like
old
literally
racist
got mental
supporters,
health issues right now, and even Kim and stuff are like, no,
Yeah.
they're not running for president. Like it was more just he had a moment of a mental health crisis and kind of went overboard. Like he's not actually legitimately going to be running.
Oh, really?
Nah.
I haven't looked too much into it. I've just seen like the first campaign speech he did.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
Which you could already see from that. Like he's not in the right mindset.
no.
No.
Yeah. A 51-day siege with heavy media coverage. This is what the Waco siege was. The FBI stating they hope to do it without it becoming a firefight. However, on the 3rd week of April, on the 19th, the FBI launched an assault and initiated a tear gas. I think I'm missing some words here. Tear gas attack in an attempt to force the cultists out of the ranch. Unfortunately, the ranch quickly became engulfed in flames, killing 76 of the cultists, including 25 children, 2 pregnant women, and David Koresh himself. A lot of cult members believe Koresh perished in the holy war he prophesied. The siege would also be a catalyst to the event in 1995. April 14, 1994. The Black Hawk incident. In northern Iraq, 2 United States Air Force pilots spotted 2 enemy helicopters. They fired and successfully destroyed the 2 helicopters. Unfortunately, these were not enemy helicopters at all and were also United States Army. 26 U.S. military and civilians were killed. I won't go too much into the political follow-up and legal stuff, but it was just an unfortunate accident and tragedy that also happened to fall on the 3rd week of April. So here we are, April 19, 1995. So this is what a lot of these have been building towards. A Gulf War veteran and his associate blew up the Alfred P. Murrah Federal Building in Oklahoma City. using over 3,000 kilograms of ammonium nitrate fertilizer, killing 168 and injuring more than 680. 1/3 of the building was destroyed, and the rest had to be demolished. The blast destroyed or damaged 324 other buildings in a 16-block radius. The bombing was intentionally set to be 2 years after the Waco siege. After the Waco siege ended in flames, which was the big one that killed all the cultists. Sorry, I've kind of messed up my notes here a bit. And was a result of hatred towards the federal government, and they were unhappy with the handling of the results of the sieges I previously mentioned in the episode. And until 9/11, 6 years later, this was the deadliest terrorist attack in the history of the US, and to this day remains the deadliest domestic terrorist attack. Both bombers were sentenced with the death penalty. Again, like a lot of these cases, there are a lot of interesting details we can actually get into in future episodes. April 20th, 1999. Columbine High School in Colorado. Two absolute pieces of shit that I don't even think it's worth naming, we'll call them Fuckwit 1 and Fuckwit 2, had spent about a year planning a massacre. Yeah, don't give them the fame they want.
No.
Yeah.
Fuckwit 1 and Fuckwit 2 had spent about a year planning a massacre, hoping to kill the most people in US history, hoping to have a higher death toll than the Oklahoma City bombing. The fuckwits had made several homemade bombs, which they planted in the cafeteria of their high school, the car park of their high school, and a couple off-site as diversions. All of the bombs failed to detonate, fortunately, except one of the off-site ones that partially worked. The fuckwit waste of cells garbage shot up the school, killing 13, including 12 students and 1 teacher, and injuring 24 others, before committing suicide in the school library a little under an hour later. The event took place between 11:19 a.m. and 12:08 p.m. I will go over the day's events in more detail on a future episode because there's a lot to unwrap here. But
what the fuck?
Yeah, you haven't heard of Columbine?
No. Yeah.
It's kind of like...
Oh, it's a freaking tragedy.
It's kind of like the most famous school shooting because of how big it was. Like, it's not the highest anymore.
And it changed a lot about how, like, schools, like, handled shit in America.
And a lot of school shootings following were copycats of these boys because a lot of people started treating them like they were... they're idols. It's disgusting.
What the fuck?
Yeah.
It just it's two people were like had that fucked up mindset where they just wanted to kill as many people as they could. Was that the reasoning? Like they just want to see how many people they could kill?
So the motives of the fuckwits are not known. And unfortunately the act has spawned multiple copycat killers since. Again, we'll do like a full thing on this because there is a lot to talk about Columbine. So when we do this as a full segment, we can acknowledge the victims in greater detail because they're the people that should truly be remembered from the incident, not the fuckwits. So we will get to this tragedy more closely at some point and look at it properly. And at the time, as I said, this was the deadliest school shooting in US history. And this next tragedy is currently the deadliest school shooting in US history, April 16th, 2007. So the deadliest school shooting also occurred on the 3rd week of April. A different fuckwit killed 32 people at the Virginia Polytechnic Institute and State University. The massacre took place between 7:15 a.m. and 9:51 a.m. There are a few theories to the fuckwit's motives, but again, this will be easier to unwrap when it has its own segment. This piece of shit, which held the previous tragedies fuckwits as martyrs. So he took inspiration from Columbine. They were his idols. Disgusting. If you worship a school shooter, you need to seek some professional help and sort your shit out. Like, if anyone listening is contemplating killing anyone or think highly of a spree killer or a serial killer, notify someone professional and sort your shit out because that shit's not okay.
No.
Again, 32 people were killed and 23 were injured. And following this, the fuckwit then killed himself. And I think these fuckwits should start off their massacres with ending themselves at the start rather than at the end. Waste of air, man. This tragedy held the record of the deadliest mass shooting in the US history until the devastating Orlando nightclub shooting in 2016. Whew. So yeah, there was some more heavy ones right there. But
Yeah.
not that these ones aren't heavy, but I feel like there's just a little bit less heavy in terms of socially to discuss. So
It's crazy.
April 20th, 2010. So now we're in the last decade. The Deepwater Horizon was an ultra-deepwater offshore drilling oil rig. On April 20th, a blowout caused an explosion on the rig that killed 11 workers and ignited a fireball that was visible from over 60 kilometers away. The fire was inextinguishable and 2 days later sank. The rig sank, which left the well at the
Have you seen the movie?
Nah.
It's pretty good, but I want to know how accurate it is.
All right, so I'm not going to go into the events of the day. I'm just talking about what it caused. The oil rig sank and it left the well at the seabed gushing out and caused the largest marine oil spill in history. The well wasn't sealed until September 19, 5 months later. 4.9 million barrels, or 210 million US gallons, bled across over 176,000 kilometers square. In 2012, BP pled guilty to 11 counts of manslaughter, 2 misdemeanors, and a felony count of lying to Congress, and paid how much in fines and other payments?
How much?
I'm asking you boys, what do you think it was? 11 counts of manslaughter, 2
BP,
misdemeanors.
the fuel company, right?
Yeah.
$70 billion.
And a felony count of lying to Congress.
I'm going to say 900 million. I don't know.
Ben?
Let's go.
I said 70 billion.
It was 4.525 billion. In 2014, BP was ruled responsible for the incident due to gross negligence and reckless conduct. How much did they pay for this one?
5 billion.
The same amount.
18.7 billion. And as of 2018, in total, with fines, cleanup costs, and other payments, BP have paid over $65 billion because of this incident, which is over 90 billion Australian dollars.
God damn.
Just over this incident.
I was close.
Yeah. For an overall.
Yeah.
April 15th, 2013. A marathon was taking place in Boston. 2 homemade bombs went off 14 seconds apart and 190 meters apart at the finish line, killing 3 and injuring several hundred others, including 17 who lost limbs. 3 days later, the FBI released images of 2 suspects, whose names I'm not even going to try to pronounce, but they were brothers. Following identification, these fuckwits killed an MIT policeman, kidnapped a man in his car, and had a shootout with police in nearby Watertown. 2 officers were severely injured in the shootout. 1 would die later. One of the brothers was shot several times. I like this part. One of the brothers was shot several times, and the other brother ran a stolen car over him while escaping. So he died. Piece of shit.
Oh my god.
Have you seen that movie?
There's a movie on this one?
Yeah, Deepwater Horizon and the Marathon bombing, they both they both have Mark Wahlberg. They came out not long after each other.
Oh, really?
They're both pretty good. Yeah. Those fuckwits die though, it's awesome.
Yeah. So Watertown and surrounding communities was asked to stay indoors while police searched for the missing fuckwit. A man discovered the fuckwit hiding in a boat in his backyard that night, and the fuckwit was shot and wounded before being taken into custody. He claims he and his brother were self-radicalized and had no connection to any exterior terrorist groups. He was sentenced to death in 2015. However, in July of this year, that sentence has been vacated and he is currently awaiting a new trial.
Nah, fuck him.
So,
Keep him in prison.
my final event, April 17th, 2013, 2 days after the Boston Marathon bombing, a fire broke out at the West Fertilizer Company storage and distribution facility in West Texas, 29 kilometers north of Waco. While emergency services were responding, an explosion occurred, again caused by ammonium nitrate fertilizer. 15 people were killed, over 160 people were injured, and more than 150 buildings were damaged or destroyed. In 2016, the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives stated the fire had been deliberately set, though this is disputed, and to this day, there have been no convictions.
Have you seen the movie on that one?
I don't know about these movies, James.
No, there's no movie to that one. It was just a joke. It was a bad one.
So I believed you, man. But yeah,
Deepwater
these
Horizon.
all occurred on the same week. So do you guys
That's crazy.
think the week is cursed? Do you reckon there's a bad luck? A lot of them have a lot in common.
How
as
many
well.
were there in?
I had
Yeah.
22.
How many were there in total?
I had 22.
22.
Damn.
Honestly, I think bad things happen a lot. So I feel like 22 of them over the span of how long?
I don't know, a couple hundred years.
Yeah. Not sure.
I mean, that's true.
Don't.
A lot of them have things in common, though, whether it be locations or the events themselves are linked or similar disasters.
Yeah.
And what else was I gonna say? I don't know. It could be. There could actually be a reason these all occur at the same time. It could be scientific. Like, for example, I was listening to this podcast once. I think it might have been Criminal, and they had they do like interviews with odd people and stuff, and they did an interview with a mortician, and I can't remember if it was a he or she, but he or she said that people die in waves, like they'll get like no one, like barely anyone dies, and then everyone dies, then barely anyone dies, and everyone dies. Like it's in waves, like throughout a month.
Interesting.
I think a theory that was presented was the moon might have like legitimate, like the whole full moon makes people crazy thing. The moon, like the same way it has a pull on the tides of the ocean, it has a pull on the chemicals of our brain and makes us dumber at a certain point of the month.
Yep.
And so people are more likely to die at this point in the month. So I don't know, it could be something like
what
that.
point of the
weird.
month is that so I can mark my calendar?
Like
Third week of
everything
April.
cycles. Everything cycles, so it could legitimately be all these things happen for or most of these happen for a specific reason, and it is an actual pattern.
Maybe there's like some secret cult, like some secret organization spanning a few hundred years. It's like, yeah, we're going to do something on the third week of April. They just planned it out.
A bunch of witches. Secret
Yeah,
witch
and they
coven.
span it out.
Illuminati.
They span it out so they don't get noticed. It's like, oh no, it's just a coincidence.
Two
But
other
actually,
non-American events on the third week of April I thought I'd quickly mention as well. I'm not going to go into detail. I'm just going to say what they were. April 15th, 1989 in England, we had the Hillsborough disaster. And April 15th, 2019 in France, Notre Dame Cathedral caught fire.
oh,
So they also fell on that week.
Oh,
But
yeah.
it's mostly America. America cops this week pretty badly. So, and this year you could argue maybe coronavirus got worse or something. I don't know. Also,
Ugh.
barely anything could happen this year because no one could leave their houses and stuff. Except for like a natural disaster or something, which seems to occur a lot. I know, as you said, James, disasters happen all the time. It could be a
So look
coincidence.
out for the third week of April 2021 to see
Yeah.
what happens.
Like, this would have been a good episode to release on the third week of April, but it came up now. So yeah.
it was hard to find a topic, to be honest.
Yeah,
It
this one
wasn't
took
like a
me so
bad
long.
prompt. It was just like hard to find something.
Like, I knew what my...
Like, I was trying to
I
find
know, you
like,
guys took this topic in completely different directions than I thought you would.
He was expecting more
Yeah, I was trying
personal
to-
curses.
I was trying to find ones on like witches and shit, but it was just leading me to like real life witches, like those kind of psychics, and I'm like, nah. There was one of
We'll
like, a
cover
movie
more
set
of
or
those
something.
topics on a different podcast.
as you guys can see,
I put a
why
spell
that
on
one took
you.
me so long to research. I had to do so many events and understand what happened in each of them and cause and effect. And it took me so long to do that one.
You really fucked yourself there.
Yeah,
But it's actually pretty good. Like, there was not much like we could make banter on because like it was just like a lot of touchy subjects.
plus like I just kind of had to go through it because there was so much I needed to get through, so I didn't really have time
Power
to
through it.
stop.
Yeah.
But yeah, again, it opens up a lot of future segments we can do. Like there was heaps of stories in there that can be expanded upon and have like awesome, like just knowledge and details and information you can look into and stuff. Yeah,
I do want to hear.
Which a
about
lot of them
few
we will explore in later episodes.
yeah.
That's what he just said.
So James,
Because definitely the
what's-
Donner Party we're going to look into.
what's the theme of episode 4, buddy?
This is episode 4.
So it's gonna be aliens.
Aliens.
Yeah.
Do you have a cool little nickname for the episode?
Don't be like Ben. Ben's an alien.
How'd you know?
Ben's got an alien. wig
Is it
on.
my green skin? Did that give it away?
I was talking to Draven yesterday.
If you don't know what
yesterday.
Ben looks like,
I was talking to Draven yesterday about some like awesome stories I want to do, but I need you guys to pick appropriate themes. So I'm waiting, but I'm not going to say what the themes are because I don't want to, don't want to like, what do you call it? Influence
it's gonna
you.
be like episode 300, and we still haven't got to any of them yet.
The worst part is both
Brandon's
the
just
stories.
passively aggressively just like saying like, I want to do this topic one day.
Just both these two stories. The worst part is they're both like the same theme. So like, if the theme is suggested, I could only do one of them. But they're both really cool. Like they've just
Wow.
been on my mind lately, and I don't know why. So I'm definitely gonna just hope you guys suggest a similar theme. Well, I don't want to suggest the theme because then I can't do the stories.
So if you want to know what Ben looks like, picture the alien from American Dad with a Branko wig on.
You can follow his Instagram at
Yeah.
BenWorldPro. It's in the episode description.
Yeah.
And his mirror selfies.
Speaking of socials,
Social medias, Ben.
thanks for ruining my segue, James.
social media,
If you want to contact,
If you want to
If you wanna
contact
contact
extraterrestrial
us.
people, go to Instagram.com/BenWorldPro.
if you want to
Social media's
contact us, you
bad.
can email us at thegraveyardbroadcast@gmail.com. You can look us up on Twitter and Insta at Grave Broadcast. We're also on YouTube at The Graveyard Broadcast. You can also find us for our half past three social media at HP3 official. Yeah, fucking fuck that one up.
I don't think we've ever
Oh,
explained
I
what
could
half
not say
past
half
three
past
is.
three.
We're half past three. That's the name
We
of the
will.
three of us.
Yeah.
The Graveyard Broadcast is the name of our podcast, but we're calling ourselves as a group half past three. That's what that is, by the way.
Yeah. So you
And
can
why are we called that?
follow us at HP3 official on Twitter and Insta, and you can also look us up on Facebook with half past three.
Yeah.
So go give us a like, go give us a follow, go subscribe, do all that type of fun
Yeah,
stuff.
please subscribe to our podcast wherever you're listening, or favorite, follow, whatever the app has or site has. Give us a rate and review on Apple Podcasts, please. Even if you don't use that to listen, it benefits us greatly. Also recommend us to friends.
And we like
if you think they'll be interested.
seeing
Hey,
all
Luna,
of the reviews come in.
come here. Luna's gonna come join us. So yes, my name is Bran Reid. I'm joined with my co-hosts.
James.
I'm Ben.
You guys take so long to say it. And I also make music solo as Bran Reid, or you can find me with my friend Draven I mentioned earlier, a Deck of Hearts. That's where most of my music is. There'll be a link in the description, as well as a sample in the outro if you want to check out some more. In the outro, I'm going to be playing today. The song is Break For Me. Anything else you boys wanted to add?
No, the museum is real.
Stand up,
know that the museum is real. Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Convince my
Ciao.
eyes to see what I wanna see. You're trapped inside your own disguise. I'll be better when you break for me.